everybody, and welcome back to my Let's Play of Dino Crisis. I'm still really kind of hyped to be playing this game. Like I said, absolutely just retro goodness. I mean, this is one of those games. I think they really built upon what they learned. They being, the game designers really built upon what they learned from Resident Evil and kind of said, okay, well, let's make a game about dinosaurs. So, I don't know, I like it a lot. I really, like I said in other videos, I praise this game for its puzzles. They kind of really sit and make you think. I refuse to memorize any of the solutions. I don't think the puzzles are random, though. I think they have set solutions for the most part, but they still, if you don't memorize the puzzles, you're kind of forced to think about them, and I really like that a lot. So, just gonna travel back here. One of the game mechanics that's kind of interesting and somewhat you have to keep track of all the time is those DDK doors. So you have to have 2 discs for each one of those. So there's an H door, there's an N door in that main entrance. Alright, so what I want to try to do here as best as I can is use these laser fences. So that's kind of my tactic. I'm gonna just wait for the dinosaur to stun himself with the lasers and then run past him. Oh, okay. Oh, that's interesting. I don't know if you guys noticed, but the dinosaur's kind of bashing out the door. Yikes, he's gonna come in here. Okay, there's H. Oh boy. Maybe that's scripted unless I kill him outside. But like you saw in the first video, I'm playing this game on normal mode, which I presume means that these enemies take quite a bit of damage, so I know that I'm in for an interesting challenge here. So as you see here, I'm going to try my best to... The goal was originally to preserve ammo, but that's going to be out the window. I can almost guarantee that. Nothing useful. Nothing useful unless Solid Snake is in one of these lockers. Speaking of which, I'm really kind of craving a Metal Gear Solid run through. I haven't played that game in a while, and honestly, the first Metal Gear Solid is my favorite. I played the first, the second, and the third. I've played and beaten the first, second, and third games. The fourth game I played a little bit of, but oh god, I'm bleeding. Yikes. I don't know why I didn't see that was a very obviously red light that indicates that shutter's not operational yet. I don't know, sometimes things don't dawn on me until after the fact. So I'm gonna go ahead. To me, this is the only obvious indicator of my health, other than if I get attacked by a dinosaur, I have to heal myself. But so Regina was bleeding, so usually use a hemostat, and some of the health items like the med packs have hemostatic abilities. I don't know if they all do. I know the large ones have it. I believe the medium ones as well, but I would have to double check on that. Oh dear. Is this game for real? Where did this dinosaur come from? Okay, I'm gonna try to avoid him. Oh boy. Oh boy. Yeah, I'm actually gonna run outside and come back, kind of see if he resets in his position, and then come right back. So I'm curious to see. I've only played this Dino Crisis. I've never... Oh my gosh. I've not played the second one yet. I've heard good things about it though. I've heard that it's pretty decent. There's a new character in it. I'm always skeptical of sequels because, for example, Parasite Eve, I did a Let's Play of that, and that's one of my favorite games. That is a classic game. Just not too long ago, I played the sequel, not through it. I got stuck, and I really didn't like what they did with it.
A survivor.
Are you from the rescue team?
Yes, I am. Do you know where I can find Dr. Kirk?
Kirk? That fool. What's he plotting now?
Kirk. I don't know why that was like so dramatic, the voice acting. If I were to grade the voice acting in this game, it's definitely not as bad as the original Resident Evil. Like, I mean, that's legendary though. We all know that. But there's some questionable moments. Like, I think particularly the voice actor for Rick is a little not so experienced. So it'll be interesting to see if they did some other voice acting. The guy who plays Gale is not too bad. The woman, oh my god. Oh. Okay. That guy was gonna survive. That prevented that from happening. I really don't have a lot of ammo for this guy, so I'm hoping that I can drive him away. I don't know if he can one-hit kill you with... or one-hit eat you. I think he might, when he kind of does that motion. I love this part right here. Regina walks right to the window. Suppose he comes back and like eats her right there. There's nothing stopping him. But the plot armor for the win. Oh lord, with this dinosaur. What is the name of these dinosaurs, right? They seem to be the most common enemy of the game, at least from what I've seen so far. And I have no idea what their name is. I think Regina might mention it. Oh. I just, at this point I realized I actually have the both panel keys for that door that I was just in, the one with the T-Rex. And I didn't realize. That tends to be a habit that I have. I realize I either don't have enough keys or I have all the keys and I don't even know it because I don't pay a lot of attention. That's always a good thing, huh? Alright, so this is the panel that the guy was talking about. He was so close to getting it figured out, but he didn't. What I'm looking at here is, so you see, it looks like letters, it looks like Sol, S-O-L, but it's actually, you have to turn it upside down, basically, so it turns into 705. You know, kind of like a calculator when you type in 8008 and you get a little chuckle out of that. So, you have this, which is 037 if you turn it upside down as well. And this panel right here shows you the order. It gives you a big clue because the symbols that are on those panel keys, you have, you know, like a little hexagon on one, I guess it's a metal of some type, and then you have a really metal looking thing on the other panel key. So what I'm doing here is I'm just figuring out which one goes where, because it actually asks you whether it goes in the left or the right. Which slot will you insert? So anyway, so Dino Crisis 2, I heard a lot of good things. Oh, I was talking about Parasite Eve. And if you guys haven't played Parasite Eve, in case you guys haven't noticed, I think my favorite, it might actually not be obvious from my Let's Plays. You might think that, you might think that my favorite library is the PlayStation 1. And you'd be right, because, but what's not obvious is the fact that I also like the Super Nintendo library just as much as the PlayStation library. I think, arguably, the PlayStation 1 and the Super Nintendo have the best game libraries to date. You know, that's me looking at all consoles, including the Xbox One and the PS4, which I haven't even... You know what? Maybe I shouldn't say... Sorry, I shouldn't say Xbox One and PS4. You know why? Because I haven't played those systems yet. I don't have them. I'm not really planning on getting either one, as far as I can tell. I mean, it's just... Basically, because right now, I have a lot of games that I have a lot of games that I haven't even played yet, and I need to play them, and I have a lot of games that I want to do Let's Plays on, whether or not I've already played them. So it's just kind of like I have this enormous backlog, and I just can't even think to add to that backlog. Like, I just can't do it. Alright, so right here, right now this area is clear, but I'm pretty sure that's gonna change. Alright, so I'm entering this. This is once again one of those save rooms, which is always pleasant. And yes, I know that there's a cabinet that I didn't get the code for, I didn't realize until, you'll see in a later video, I've recorded ahead, you'll see in a later video that I figured out where to get that code, because that's going to allow me to progress, obviously. Right, so I'm going back this way. So anyway, Parasite Eve 2. Kind of went on off on this little tangent here. Parasite Eve 2, I don't know how to feel about that game. I really don't. And I thought for some reason I needed to. Thought for some reason I needed to come back to Rick, and that turned out not to be the case. But Parasite Eve 2, I'm really not sure how to feel about the game. It's one of those things that it's not a bad game intrinsically. Okay, so this is one of those emergency boxes, and there's 3 different kinds basically. You see the green one here, which is, it usually has some health items that you can pick up. You can also see, you'll also see some red ones, which are strictly for ammo, and then the yellow ones, I believe, are just a mix of both. You'll see a mixture of both ammo and health items. So, and they require at least 1 plug, some require 2 or more, so you have to be a little strategic about which one to use. So you're gonna see me kind of continuing to mix these things, and I'm kind of trying to figure out what mixtures result in what. So I have I'm starting to build up a lot of health items, and I need more in terms of offensive items. So Parasite Eve 2, let's get back to this once and for all. It's not a bad game intrinsically, it's actually quite fun, but the only thing is, because I look at it in its context, it's a Parasite Eve game. And you remember, the first game was an RPG game. Now, I'm really not much of an RPG person myself. I've played a tiny bit of Final Fantasy VIII. No, I've played through most of Final Fantasy VIII. I've never beaten it. I've played a little bit of Final Fantasy VII. And other than that, those are really the only other RPGs I've played besides... No, I am lying. I've also played Earthbound. As a matter of fact, I kind of like the RPGs that are based in modern times, so that's why I'm really drawn to Parasite Eve a lot, as well as Earthbound. I played through Earthbound once, and that was a fun game too. It's long, of course, like most RPGs are, no? But Parasite Eve is one of the shorter RPGs, if I'm not mistaken. But I like the fact that it's set in New York. I like the fact that Earthbound is kind of a modern thing. Okay. So there's a destination here. Well, Rick didn't state, and what wasn't obvious to me at this time was the fact that not only did he release the shutters closer to where we entered the facility, so I'm going to show you right here the shutters that he's talking about in this office hallway. You'll see they were red before, the light was red before, and now it's green. Now I can use it. So what is not obvious is that he also unlocked the shutters in another hallway, and I'll show you that eventually. Oh boy. This is one of those danger moments that you have to kind of mash the action button. I'm pretty sure if you don't mash it enough, bad things can happen. That kind of reminds me of there's some panic moments in Clock Tower, the very first Clock Tower, the one that came out on the Super Nintendo. And I think they re-released it on the PlayStation, if I'm not mistaken. But I think this was all in Japan. I think we never got this game. There is an English port. There is an English translation, kind of a fan translation somewhere. And I played a little bit of it myself, which is pretty awesome. It's a pretty good game. I like it a lot. I got stuck, but I like it. But it kind of, that danger moment reminds me of these panic moments that you get in Clock Tower where you have to mash the button, otherwise bad things can happen to the main character. So, Parasite Eve 2. let's talk about Parasite Eve 1 first. So Parasite Eve 1 RPG, ironically enough, I really like it as an RPG, and that's why I have kind of a confused feelings towards Parasite Eve 2, because Parasite Eve 2 is more of an action game. It's actually more reminiscent, and I think most people would agree, it's more reminiscent of something like a Resident Evil game, like a typical survival horror action game. It does have a bit of RPG elements to it, but it's a lot more kind of action oriented than the original game was. So because I like Parasite Eve 1 so much, I was kind of hesitant about playing the second game. I'd seen someone play it before when it came out, but I said, oh, I really don't like what they did with the game, which is, it sounds ironic because I love Resident Evil, and yet I didn't like that they went that route with Parasite Eve. It really doesn't help that I got stuck. So I finally tried it about a couple years ago. I finally tried playing it, and I got stuck in a part. I was pretty much out of ammo, pretty much out of luck, SOL, and I didn't know what to do. And I was only, I would say, about 50 or 60% of the way through the game, I believe, based on what people were telling me. So that was a bit discouraging, needless to say. But I think I want to go back and check it out. I think I want to go back because I'm curious about it. Although I heard that the third game, which is called The Third Birthday, I heard that that was not good. That one was more, when did that come out? Came out a few years ago, so it was a lot more, obviously the most recent entry in the Parasite Eve series. So remember, you had Parasite Eve 1, then you had Parasite Eve 2, which came out in the late 90s, early 2000s, and then skip ahead about 10, 12 years, something like that. Then you had The Third Birthday. So it's very different. Okay, so these were the shutters that I was talking about. He didn't mention it, Rick didn't mention it. So I kind of got fortunate because I ran over here to check out what was going on because I had no idea where I needed to go. And thankfully, he also unlocked these shutters as well. So there's another vent as well. And because this is not Silent Hill 3, there's really not much else I can do with the bathroom. So I'm going to see what's going on. This is yet another vent. I think these are the only two vents you can kind of climb around in the game, like you're John McClane or something. Although these are much easier to crawl around in. You can actually run in them. As a matter of fact, that's one thing. So where are we going now? Lecture room hallway. I think that's where I need to be. There's a room here that I need to be in. Naturally, there's enemies in the room. Ooh, there's a body part. That's always lovely, isn't it? Okay. I like classrooms that look like this, and I kind of regret that my college doesn't have classrooms. Or is this like a fictional thing? I don't know. Because in Final Fantasy VIII, the classroom looked like that when you were in... What was the name of that I was going to call it university. Balamb. Another one of these dangerous sequences you'll see. Gale like a boss.
Gale, you're still alive. Good timing.
What is it? Another lizard?
That's no lizard. It's a dinosaur.
Dinosaur?
Look, something's really wrong with this place. This whole mission has gone sour.
It's always eat or be eaten out in the battlefield, no matter who or what you're up against. Any word on the dock yet? I've got to hook up with Rick again. My radio's dead, and he's the only one who can fix it.
Okay, well, bye. Alright, so anyway, I got a key, which is good. Some sort. I'm trying to figure out what that symbol in the background looks like. It reminds me of something. I'll get back to you guys on that when it's like on the tip of my tongue, but I'll come back. I'll come back to that thought later. So I mentioned Balamb. Is it Balamb or Balamb? Like, is the stress on the first or the second syllable? Because It's one of those words that can, you know, it's like an English-like word, but it's obviously not a real word, like they do, like Squaresoft loves to do. Or is it Squaresoft or Square? Am I revealing my age by saying Squaresoft, Square Enix, whatever the company wants to call itself? Call itself Circle. I don't know. Anyway, speaking of Final Fantasy VIII, when I first, that was the first Final Fantasy I played. I said I played a little bit of 7. I played Final Fantasy 7 after I played Final Fantasy VIII. I got it later because I heard everyone saying, oh, you should play Final Fantasy 7. That's the best Final Fantasy to date. One of the best ones. Although now I hear people in different camps, like Final Fantasy 6 is good apparently. Okay, so I can't go through that door yet. But when I first got Final Fantasy VIII, I got a lot of hate apparently. Oh, why do you like that game? That game's horrible. It's not that great. I was like, I think it's fine. I think it's an okay game. I thought it was okay. I thought it was fun. Had its moments. Although there was one part where, holy cow, what was it? There was a part. Okay, I was in an area, optional area, mind you, and it's always the optional ones that really tick me off. I kept dying. Super hard enemy. I guess I wasn't leveled up properly, or I guess I wasn't equipped properly, so.
So how goes the search for the doc?
Nothing yet. I didn't find any sign of him on this level.
That leaves the underground area then. It's the only place left.
But there's no power down there, right?
Not yet.
That'll be your job, Regina. Restore the power to the underground area.
Alrighty. You'll see me sometimes come back here for guidance, because sometimes I'm like, I don't know where I'm going. Help me, team. Help me. Help me do something. Really? Really with this? Thank you, game, because what, does the game think I have too much ammo or something? Oh my god. I'm getting nervous about this playthrough. I don't know about all this. I'm gonna save because I'm not feeling too comfy at this particular moment. I don't get what this continue thing is. Continues 5 left. I don't know if that has anything to do with the resuscitation packs, because basically the resuscitation, as the name implies, can revive you after you die. So I don't know if it's the if it's that I actually have 5 resuscitations. I can't remember how many resuscitation packs I have in my inventory at the moment. Okay, so I did pick up that key in the lecture room, so that should be the key for the hello. I forgot to put the fence up. Sometimes I'll forget to do it. And so the key is for that generator room to get power up in other areas of the facility. So I don't know why there was such hatred for Final Fantasy VIII. I did see a YouTuber, who I don't know if he's on YouTube anymore, but I don't usually like to mention names unless I know people and they know me. Anyway, kind of weird. I always feel like I'm a stalker, like, oh, if I mention this person, oh, no, I don't know. Not that they would ever see, like, if it's a really famous person, like, if they would ever really see what I'm doing, but I don't know, I'm kind of paranoid about that. But anyway, I didn't really get what all the hatred was towards Final Fantasy VIII. It was like, Final Fantasy VIII came out, what, 1999 or something like that? I was in high school back then, and yeah, a lot of people were like, oh, why did you get that game? And it's not that good, you should play the other one. So I really didn't get it. I still don't get what the hatred was, because I had a blast with it. So, other games. Like I said, my favorite era, if I were to kind of narrow it down to a few years, would be mid to late 90s. Which coincidentally is the same era of trance music that I like. I don't know, maybe it's just something about the late 90s that was very magical. People were extra creative. People were extra ambitious. Maybe. I don't know. So this is definitely like the puzzle that you saw in the first video. Exactly the same concept, with in terms of putting the batteries in a particular order. The mid to late 90s, I think most of the games that I've done Let's Plays on up to this point, except for a few, except for like the modern ones, are from that era. But like I said, in assessing all consoles that I know a little bit about, at least, I stand by my statement. I say the Super Nintendo and the PlayStation 1 have the best game libraries out there. I mean, I like the PlayStation 2, I have an Xbox 360 and a PlayStation 3, but they just don't have the same magic for me.
We're in the green, thanks to you. Look, I need you to come back here. There's something I have to talk to you about.
Lovely, the power's been restored, it's time to go back. So I'm gonna make my way back. There was just something about it. Maybe it was the fact that I was a lot younger, so games were a little more... what's the word? Games were a little more kind of awe-inducing for me. But that's just been my experience, and it continues to be my experience. Like, I will go back to those games and have a blast. As a matter of fact, there's a lot of games from mid to late 90s that I didn't play until recently. Case in point, Symphony of the Night. I didn't play that game as a kid. I might have heard about it, but I didn't play it until a few years ago. And I can see the appeal. I can definitely see the appeal of it. Like, as a matter of fact, I did a Let's Play of it, but I want to play it again because there's just so much to do in that game. It's a Metroidvania type of game and there's things I'm sure, for example, there's items to pick up that I'm sure I haven't picked up in any of my playthroughs. It's one of those things that it's just like such an enriching experience that even now I still appreciate those games. So I'm gonna save here, and I think now's a good place to stop, so I'll be back.